I know you heard me on the radio. Flexing, she loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K. I know you heard me on the radio. Flexing, she loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K.
Guys, welcome to another episode, Phin Addict Fury. This isn't a live edition. This is just me. I'm wearing this greasy jersey. It's a little bit of a weird throwback, but whatever. Guys, we got a win yesterday. Let's not lose the significance of this win. This is a Baltimore Ravens team that has basically pummeled us and kicked our tails up and down the field for seasons on end, so much over recent memory. And they came to Miami, and not only did they come to Miami, and not only did we beat them in Miami, but we kicked their ass up and down the field on defense anyway. We were physical, we were tough, we brought the pressure, we brought the attitude, we were on point. And I'll say this before I even get into any of the analysis of the game or whatever else. Let me just say this. Props to the Miami, South Florida fan base. For all the nonsense people like to talk about them showing up and showing out and whatever, that stadium was loud. And I remember even on the sideline after halftime, they're like, the Ravens are... John Harbaugh is concerned with crowd noise. They said it almost confused. Like, Miami's got crowd noise? Yeah. Yeah, the Fins fans in Miami and in South Florida at Hard Rock brought the volume and brought the energy. And here's the thing I'll say. Look, as a football fan, as a longtime football fan, people want to hate. People want to say, we've moved on to a new era and this and that about football. And this, it's all offense now. And you need to see sparks and you need to see the offense going and this and that. You know what I love as a fan? Especially as a fan who's in the stadium. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't there. I was watching at home, but it's still enjoyable from home. But in the stadium, there are very few things better as a football fan inside the football stadium live at the game. There are a few things better than a defensive struggle where your team is just knocking people down and just playing fierce and just tough in the trenches and just stifling the opposing team's offense. There are very few things that fun and exhilarating as a football fan when you're in a stadium and that's how it's going. Like, you could say all you want about sparks flying. You could say all you want about big plays and, offensive shootouts and how fun they are and quarterback showcases. But football is still a game of inches. It's a game of forward progress. It's a game of grinding and clawing to get yardage, to get a score into the end zone. That is the game at root. And this game that we had was that. And that's fun. That can be fun. So everybody who was at the game at Hard Rock last night, I give you props. I hope you had a blast. And I hope, because there's nothing more fun than when your team's on defense and it's 3rd and long or 4th down and you get loud as hell and you blow the roof off the thing or the semi-roof off Hard Rock, and you know that the team is feeding off it, and you see them just out there like that, and you know you're going to give the offense trouble. There's very few things as fun as that. There's very few times that let you know as much as those times do that you really are the 12th man, that you really can make a difference as a member of the crowd. Very few things are that good. So props to that. Let's get into some of what happened in the game. So Jacoby Brissett starts the game. Tua comes in. We'll get to the quarterback thing a little later. I want to talk about the whole controversy and whatever's going on with that whole situation because it's a little interesting, okay? But we'll talk about it. Let's just say this, right? The Miami Dolphins defense The Miami Dolphins defense for the last 3 weeks at least, and I said this when they first started coming out playing well against Buffalo, and then they played against Houston. It looked like to me, now again, he denies it, so who knows if it's true. It looked like Brian Flores started calling the plays, or at least had input in the plays, and I went like this because it seems like all of a sudden over the last couple games when they're on defense, Flores is pulling, his play sheet or whatever up to his face as if he's making a play call. Now, if he's not making a play call, then I bet he's at least in the discussions about the play calls as they're happening, okay? Because there's something that's changed with the defense, and I think we talked about it a few weeks ago. X had said after the first game that they looked good like that. He had said, look, we just kind of got back to doing what we did as a defense last year, and it's paid off. And I said it last week in last week's analysis on the live stream. I said what they're getting back to is bringing serious pressures and, exotic blitz packages and relying on man coverage on the outside, which makes sense because the team's built that way, right? We're paying Xavier Howard. We're paying Jones that kind of money so that they can be shut down corners on the outside. Now, earlier in the season, we saw X get burned a bunch of times. Some other guys had unfortunate incidents where they got burned and we were down on them. But now that we've gotten back into the formula that this roster was built for, because you build rosters for certain systems and you build them with certain things in mind, now that we've gotten back to the way this roster was built on defense, you see that it bears a lot of fruit, right? That we can do quite well. When we bring pressure and we rely on man coverage to the outside, a lot of good things can happen. And I said it last week and I'll say it again. The way you win in this league, the way you play good defense in this league is by putting pressure on the quarterback. It doesn't matter how good you are in coverage. If you can't get pressure on the quarterback, he will eventually, in this league, because he's so talented, the receivers are so talented, the quarterback will eventually find an open man downfield or will eventually burn you with his legs. That's just how it works. So the way that we've been playing is the recipe for success over the last 3 games. We can sit here and wonder why it hadn't happened in the beginning of the season. That's a perfectly valid thing to wonder about. We can do that all we want. But the fact is, once we brought the pressure and the way we're doing it now, that's the way you succeed. That's the way our defense plays well. That's how you do it. Xavier Howard. People wanted to move at the trade deadline. I didn't say it was a bad thing to move him at the trade deadline. He's high priced. He'd been getting burned. Is he on the downward slope? Is he right at the plateau? Where is he? The reason you have an Xavier Howard on your team, there's going to be some plays, like where he got the pass interference call late in the game. There's going to be some plays where he gets beat. There's going to be some plays where he takes a gamble on the ball and he misses it. There's going to be some plays where he gets a penalty. He's not Byron Jones. He's the shutdown guy. And I think he's had a decent season, honestly, Jones. I don't think he's had a bad season. People want to get back and get on him. I think he's done well. But, he's done pretty well. But now when you look at X, I want to get back to X. When you go look at X, what does X do? And sorry, I'm just getting some stuff here. But X makes plays. X makes plays. That's why they paid him. Why did we win the first game against New England? Because of X. Not only did he create the fumble in that game, but he recovered the fumble. This game, look at the touchdown X had. It's huge. That was a game-changing play when our offense couldn't do anything, couldn't do a darn thing, was completely stifled for most of the game. And all of a sudden, you like, as the game's going on, you almost know. You're like, we need the defense to either make a huge turnover to put the offense in position in the red zone somewhere where they can score, or we need the defense to actually score. Like, that's what's going to blow this game open. This game's close. And most of this game, right, this is one of those games, and again, I went into the game thinking, this is going to be one of those games where I just know Miami's going to get pummeled. But right when we get to the second quarter, the end of the second quarter, you're like, no, this is not going to be a game where Miami gets pummeled. This is going to be a close game that we're going to be in. But what scared me as an observer, and what should scare most people, was like, we know Lamar Jackson's not going to be held down forever. We know the Baltimore offense has the capability to make a huge play late in the game. So for most of the second half, we're kind of waiting, right? We're like, oh boy, we can keep stopping them and keep playing field position. And look, the defense is playing great. But how long are we going to be able to stop them, really? Once they get a big play, if they were to go up on us by a few points, our offense isn't doing anything. What are we going to do? And you just felt that we needed a big play on defense to break the game open, to change the complexity of the game, to make it now really we can just kind of sit back and rely on our defense and rely on our pressure and kind of sit on a lead a little bit. And that moment was X causing yet another fumble, recovering the fumble, and returning it with, his return, that's the way the guy is. He's a playmaker, man. He's a playmaker. Like the way he returned that ball even. He wasn't just one of these guys who straight runs down the sideline, then falls out of bounds, or does some awkward moves and doesn't quite make it. He cut, he round, he stayed in it, he got into the end zone. And that's why he's paid. X is a playmaker. X is not going to be the shutdown corner every game. But X is going to make plays that change the game. And you have a shutdown corner on the other side. That is a huge advantage. That's why we have them. And every team has those like playmaker game-changing guys. They have those role player guys. They have, a balance of that. And what we've been missing all season is seeing that complementary football where the playmaker on X makes the play, where the shutdown guy shuts somebody down, where the lineman makes the block. Like we've been missing the complementary football, where the defense makes a good stop after the offense finally scores, or where the offense can score and get a couple first downs when the defense made a great play to give them a rest. We've lacked that complementary football for most of the season. And all of a sudden, the last 2 weeks, you see that complementary football coming in. Now, we could have said, Houston, who cares? But this is Baltimore. This is a team sitting atop the AFC North. This is a good team traditionally. This is a tough team traditionally. This is a team that has given us problems for years. So to manhandle them, to play the way we played against them defensively means we could play with any team in the league defensively. I wish we had another crack at Buffalo, and we hung with them the last time we played, way better than we had in previous weeks. Don't forget Brandon Jones. Don't forget Javon Holland. That safety tandem. And remember, I was one of the biggest guys. I was like, why did you get rid of Bobby McCann to bring in McCourty? What's that going to do for you? You're getting rid of veteran leadership who's been with the team. Well, finally, these two young guys are finding their stride, Jones and Holland. And these two guys, the way they're bringing blitzes, the way they're laying hits in the secondary, the way they're showing up, they're starting to come into their own. And now you're starting to see this secondary take shape. And even, on some of these wide stretch run plays, you see the linebackers stringing guys out. You see Phillips even on the D-line. They're stringing guys out all the way to the sideline. And when if you play outside the end or outside linebacker closer to the line as a kid or in football, you know that one of the first things they teach you as a youth is you got to string your guy out on outside runs. Bring that blocker out, and then when it's time, make your move. Close that gap. Don't let him outside of you. Never let him outside. You always force him inside. And they were doing that beautifully too. Beautifully. The defensive performance was something. And here's the kind of capstone thing that I want to take from this whole game, kind of. The capstone thing. What I want to talk about this whole game is kind of, we were a couple weeks ago saying, what do we have to look forward to? What hope do we have? Why should we care? Why is it even worth watching the rest of the season? What's the point? What do we have to look forward to if this coaching regime has failed, if this GM has failed? I think the biggest thing you take away from the last couple weeks and from last night's game against Baltimore, I think the biggest thing you take away from it is, well, I don't know what happened earlier in the year. I think Flores made some serious mistakes. So did Greer, as far as who they traded with veterans, who they hired for coaching. But here's the thing. We always were wondering, is it salvageable or are these guys just done? Do we have to just move on from these guys? Or is this salvageable? Well, it looks like it might be salvageable now all of a sudden. And here's why I say that. I don't just say that blindly. I'm not just going to be so optimistic because we won a couple games. Here's why I say that. I say that because it looks like when you look at the safety tandem, and then you look at the corners playing complementary ball, and then you look at the line and the linebacker stringing guys out and playing against a stout run offense, and we look like we're actually implementing our philosophy, it looks like, well, maybe there were other factors. Maybe there were other things that were wrong earlier in the year, but perhaps, just maybe, and I'm not saying this is definitive, I'm not saying this is definite, but just something to have hope for. Just maybe, Flores and Greer had a plan with the defense and who they were drafting and who they were signing, and just maybe that defense, which is supposed to be Flores' specialty, just maybe that defense is really showing up and turning into and finally realizing the potential that it could have had all along. And maybe Flores and Greer aren't so lost when it comes to that. Maybe they do somewhat know what they're doing, and maybe we're finally seeing it come to fruition. Plenty of reason to criticize, plenty of reason to second guess, plenty of reason to wonder what happened earlier in the year. But perhaps, just perhaps, despite the criticism and despite them learning from their mistakes, maybe we really do have something to look forward to in terms of them building a roster that fits a system on the defensive side of the ball and making something happen. And if there's something to hope for, you're thinking maybe Flores is going to get this ship righted. Maybe he really does know defense. Maybe they really can draft players for this particular defense. Maybe he just has to get the right assistant coaches. Maybe he has to revamp the offense. Maybe he has to bring in some veteran coaches, veteran leaders as far as players. But maybe they can still make this thing work. And the other most important thing is the way the team was playing. The way that team was playing yesterday with all that heart and energy. And Holland said after the game, he's like, that's the most fun I've ever had playing football. It was just a blast. The way these guys are playing with the energy they have, then there's no way they quit on Flores. So there's no way that Flores lost the locker room. That we can say. And that's huge. If he hasn't lost the locker room and they're still going to play this well, then there is hope for next year. There is hope going forward. And that's maybe one of the coolest things and best things as a Dolphins fan you could hope for. So that's another awesome thing. Now, briefly, I want to talk about the offense. So last week, I got a lot of nonsense because I was saying, hey, there's no real difference between Brissett and Tua, this and that. I said last week that Brissett didn't look good. He's not a franchise quarterback. He didn't look good, but he did enough to win. I'll tell you this week, Tua came in. Tua did enough to win. Now, I'm not going to get bogged down and destroy somebody. Look, Tua came in, and Tua threw the passes that needed to be thrown and made the drive that needed to be made in order for us to win the game, and Tua deserves props for that. Tua looked pretty good on some throws and certain plays. Tua deserves props for delivering the game, for winning the game, for getting that W. And as all the players are calling it a dub, he deserves credit for that, okay? And I apologize. The lighting has changed because I'm in front of this big window and the sun has been setting. So it is what it is, getting darker in here. Apologize for that, guys. But look, Tua came in and did what he had to do. Now, people are saying, oh, Brissett was so pathetic, so bad. It's the same nonsense these 2 years do every time. He was so pathetic. Thank God Tua came in. I was so happy Tua came in. Good thing Tua came in, won the game up. Brissett didn't look good. Now, he looked like he was hurt for real. And then when it was time to come back out on offense, Brissett looked like he wanted to come back in, and Flores looked like he was telling Tua to come in. Now, some people said that they thought they saw Flores kind of yelling at Brissett. I thought what I saw was, this is what I thought, this is my little theory. I thought I saw Brissett coming out to go back on the field, and I thought I saw Flores kind of point at Tua, like, essentially, without reading lips, but kind of like, you, go make something happen. Like, you want to show what you're worth? You want to show what you're made of? Go. I almost talk it as like a challenge to Tua. Like, no, you go out there. Go out. Go ahead, kid. Show us what you got. And look, Tua, like, I don't want to get into a whole quarterback thing because this game was about the D. And we could talk about quarterbacks all day. We're always going to fight about it. It is what it is. Tua had some plays where he didn't look very good. It was thrown into the middle field out of nowhere. He was missing guys. But he had a couple really nice throws. Really nice throws. You know, he threw to Waddle down there, and Waddle made a great catch, and it was a great throw, right on point, great route by him. He made the throw to Albert Wilson when he needed to. He made a couple other good throws. He ran it in at the end. Good for Tua. Good for the kid. He played good enough to win that game, and he deserves credit for doing that. Tua deserves credit for doing that. Now, what I will say, after seeing Brissett and Tua, number one, I don't know about this finger fracture, because how does he have a finger fracture that's so hard to deal with? I know Flo said after the game, oh, well, with the finger fracture, we just didn't want him throwing it too far down the field. We didn't want him throwing it too far down the field, so he threw short passes and he was good. So maybe he didn't want Brissett to get hurt any further. I don't know. But it was weird that he was benched, but he was the backup because of a finger issue. But as soon as Brissett goes down, Tua goes right back in, and I think you'd want to protect that finger, but he's in, and even though Brissett's good, Tua still plays. My theory is that he kind of quasi-benched Tua. And my theory is that Brian Flores is not married to any one quarterback, especially when none of them, as far as he's concerned, has proven yet that they are the franchise guy going forward. I think he's in a mindset, just like he was last year. I think Flo is in a mindset where Flo is going to pull quarterbacks and switch quarterbacks based on the hot hand, based on a spark, based on anything. And he can say that Tua is the guy. He can say it's an injury. I get the feeling he's going to use whatever excuse he can to try to rotate these guys and try to get a spark out of them. Why? Because neither guy is setting the world on fire. Neither guy is great. Neither guy seems to have a really great command of the offense. Neither guy seems to be making great throws all the time. That's just a fact. And if we talk about having hope going forward, what I would say for having hope going forward is next year in the offseason, I say they revamp and bolster this defense, sign the guys you need to sign, bring the guys in you need to bring in, continue this trajectory, keep running this pressure D with man cup, keep doing it this way. And what you need to do if you want to be a contender, you need to hire a better, you need to basically revamp your entire offensive system. And what I mean by that is you need to bring in some vets for the O-line. You have plenty of salary cap room. You need to sign Mike Gesicki to a long-term deal. You need to identify the guys that you think can really rock with your offense long-term and the guys you don't think can. You need to sign them. You need to bring in vets where you need them. You need to use your draft picks on O-line and skill players. You need to also hire a better OC, like a true dominant alpha offensive coordinator. And you need to either find yourself a quarterback, trade for a quarterback, or bring in or draft a quarterback to compete with Tua at least. We don't have a quarterback on this roster right now that's taking us into the playoffs and being a contender. We just don't. We don't have a quarterback who's doing that. That's just a fact. But the defense is ready to contend now. And I don't want this to go back to the early 2000s where we had a great defense and we never had the offense to make an impact anywhere. So if I'm a Dolphins fan right now, I'm celebrating this victory. I'm celebrating that the defense is still playing with heart. I'm celebrating that our roster moves are now making more sense in terms of the system that we're running. And I'm looking forward to the offseason because I think this regime might still be able to get it done, especially based on what they've done on defense. But they are going to need to change the offensive side of the ball. I need an OC, I need a revamped offensive line, and I need a quarterback or a quarterback competition. Because the offense was anemic. You have to give this victory to the D, just like I gave the victory last week to the D. I don't care if it's Brissett. I don't care if it's Tua. They will each make throws that are necessary to win. They will each make blunders. And that's how it is. Now, Tua didn't have any turnovers. Brissett had a bunch of turnovers last week. And Tua looked okay, but other times Tua looked, I don't want to get into it because I don't want to hear the pushback and the anger about it. So I'm not going to get into it. It's a win. A win is a win is a win. Tua got the W to his name. He, did the interview after on NFL Network, everything else. It was a great win. It was a great D, and there's a lot to be happy about and a lot to look forward to if you're a Miami Dolphins fan right now. And that's all that matters. We are 3-7. Can we win? I'm thinking now, getting all ambitious. Can we get all the way up to 500 and make a run? It's unlikely. It's unlikely, but is it possible in some realm, in some way? Yeah, it's possible in some realm, in some way. It is possible. So let's hope that we can do it, and if not, at least we have hope for next year. But we have a lot of beatable teams coming up on the schedule. We have a lot of beatable teams, so you never really know what could happen. If we could rattle off another 4 wins in a row, this season looks totally different. And that's really all we got to rattle off. And the season is completely different. So I'm not trying to be over optimistic, but we're fans. This is entertainment, so we should be a little optimistic. And I'm pretty optimistic just about the trajectory. I'm more optimistic. Let me say, I won't say I'm pretty optimistic. I'll say I'm more encouraged. And I'm a little more optimistic now than I was recently when it comes to this team and where it's headed. That doesn't mean everything's good. It doesn't mean we're not going to still take a step back in the next few months and I'm going to be angry as hell again. But as of right now, there is some reason for hope, and that's awesome. So with this dark room going on and me barely visible anymore, I hope you still enjoyed the sound of my voice, even though you could barely see me now. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope for certain you enjoyed the Finns win. It's a nice thing where your team wins on Thursday night, and now it's Friday. And now you get to just chill and watch all the other games and just relax, and your team already won, and you kind of get to celebrate that all weekend. There's nothing like that, Dolph fans. It's dope. Guys, I want to remind you, please subscribe. Please share the video. Please like the video. If you want to donate to the channel, there's a link on the front page of the channel to donate. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. That's the push. Until we get to 1,000 subscribers, we're going to keep pushing hard to get every subscription we can. So if you enjoyed the video, if you enjoyed the commentary, if you just like Dolphins content in general, please subscribe to the channel. And please share the channel with other people and encourage other people who are Dolph fans, who are football fans, to subscribe to the channel. We got more content coming soon. Thank you all for joining me. God bless you all. Enjoy your weekend on a victory Miami Dolphins week. Good night.
I know you heard me on the radio flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz